Good morning, everybody. The sun is out on a Thursday afternoon. I must say that it feels great whenever you see sun shining through the window, or let's say sun is shining through the living room, whether it's on a Monday or whether it's on a Tuesday, or regardless of which day it is. It always great to see that. And I wanted to jump on the tube, to tell those who's watching. I do understand that my channel is still relatively new, but I want to share something with you all. I first started college, when I was 17. I was still a minor, and I will admit that, when I was 17, it was parts of college that I wasn't quite, used to, like obviously, okay, having to, I guess, go about doing things like in a certain way, like having to be more firm when it comes down to things such as communication, or having more self-confidence, or or making sure that I introduce myself to anyone and everybody that's in the room, so that they won't be thinking that I'm just a random person sitting there. But more importantly, though, I have personally experienced throughout my throughout the time I obviously been going at this going at the whole college thing for ever since 2012. I personally experienced, racism, like which I pointed out in the previous video. Racism is a serious problem. Systemic racism is a serious problem. And just to kind of speak on that for a while this morning, I remember when I got to about, I'd say, my second year at a community college, and that just so happened to have been TCC. I remember I had this one professor. He was, foreign guy. He had an accent, but I remember whenever I used to step in the classroom, and let's say I was trying to find something, like where to be a pencil, or where to be something to write with, or where to be just, I guess, somewhere to sit down at. He would make these statements like, "Oh, well, you're scaring me," or, "Oh, I thought you was going to steal something," or "Oh, I thought you was a criminal." And he said those statements to me because of, well, the color of my skin. I am a black man, and whenever it would be somebody white, he wouldn't say those things. But in the fact that, again, that I'm a black man, and the fact that I just so happened to have been, looking for something that pertained to class, he just felt the need to say those types of things. And then I dealt with racism even from the higher ups that was at TCC. I had a professor that clearly made it known that, she didn't care about teaching, that she never wanted to be a teacher to begin with, that what she wanted was to work at a call center and this professor was just, failing me for no apparent reason. And whenever I would go to her and ask her, well, hey, professor, I have some questions about this. I'm not quite understanding this concept, or I'm not quite understanding the nature of this assignment, she would never fully answer my questions. And then when I would go by her office, she never was available. So I tell my parents about it, and we go and meet with the chair over the psychology department, and the person that's over that was white. And I remember we was telling him about what all was going on, and being treated unfairly, and he decides that he wanted to say this, another comment that was, racist, because again, whenever it was a white student and they had questions and they felt like they'd been treated unfairly, and if they went to him, he would give them the time of day and help them out. But the fact that obviously, we are black, he felt, I guess he must have felt the need to say, oh, well, sometimes you have to cut the cord, and you all can't baby him. And I remember I said very respectfully, I said, well, sir, just to let you know, they're not holding me by my hand. They're not babying me in no fashion or form. I have been, doing this myself since I was 17 years of age. And at the time I mentioned that, I was, I had to have at least been, I say 20, I say right at 21. I remember that happened in the fall semester of 2015. So then, okay, it goes from there to, I take it up with one of the student services office, DSS, which, if anybody who may not know what DSS stands for, that's the Department of Student Services. So I take the issue up with them, and I tell them what happened, and I get told, okay, well, we're on top of it, we'll take care of it, this, that, and the third. And I remember I kept a thick binder of all the things that went on. My binder was about as thick as something you would see in a courtroom, or something you would see in a lawyer's office, or something you would see in a doctor's office. It was that thick. So anyway, I am constantly telling them about what's going on. I was making sure that they knew what was going on. And so gets to the end part of the semester now, and I brought it to the professor, and she didn't care. Brought it to the dean over the psychology department. Okay, he didn't really care about the problem itself. He just wanted to I guess throw something out there. And then, not to mention, whenever I tried to withdraw from the class, they prevented me from doing that. Another thing that I found to be racist, because again, whenever and I mean, I did have some white classmates. I'm not trying to say that I didn't have no white classmates at all, but whenever they would bring up something to them, and they would, let's say, withdraw from a class, they'll, it'll be fine, didn't have no problems with it. But whenever I tried to withdraw from the class, and whenever I brought concerns to their attention, they chose to just ignore it. And so the semester concludes, again, it was fall semester 2015. I remember it was coming up on Christmas time, and final grades was to be posted. And I remember I called to DSS and I spoke to my advisor at the time. That was, her name was Jennifer, and she was white, and that she just had been my advisor at the time. And I remember one of the main questions I had asked. I said, I said, hey, what happened to the meeting being set up between me and one of the other chair members? And she kept giving me excuses like, oh, well, I tried reaching out to him, and I, never could get anybody. I went by there, they wasn't available. And I remember I was very upset because I'm like, but you had me believing the whole while that it was going to be fine. So why get to now? And I now find out that, that I was just lied to. And all she could tell me was just, oh, she was sorry. And, I'll admit, I did not want to hear that at the time, because that did not help my situation. And then I tried reaching out to, President Murdoch, and emailing him my concerns, and I emailed him all the documentation that I had and more, detailing everything of what was going on and what had happened. But this was before the semester concluded, and I never heard back from him either. I left my cell phone number, he never called back. I left my email, he never called back. I left my student ID number, never called back. And each time that I would call, I never got anybody. So, that left really a bad taste in my mouth, because I truly felt like I had been discriminated against, and that I had been purposely denied because of the color of my skin. And since that time, I have experienced, a little bit more of the on the topic of racism. When me and my brother Corey, and for those of you who may not know, my brother is 9 years my age. So when he was born in '85, I didn't come around to 9 years later in '94. But anyway, when we was in, I guess, a car accident, and when the vehicle got totaled, they sent a white officer down to where we was at, and we was telling the officer very clearly of what had happened, the fact that the other driver ran the red light. And rather than for the officer to really understand what we were saying, he then is gonna tell me, oh, well, I still don't quite get what it's talking about. I don't exactly, I never been in this area before. And so we went back and forth for a little while, and I saw I wasn't going nowhere, and I saw he wasn't really getting what we were saying. I just said, okay, well, if you, I'm just telling you what had happened. I was upset, but at the same time, I was still being professional with him. We get to the hospital, and the officer comes to bring us our ID. And the first thing we see on the report was him writing, or the fact that he wrote, could not conclude who was at fault. And the vehicle that we had was totaled. And so, I can, have we been discriminated against? Yes, that's very much real, and it doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to feel good. So, there are a lot of reasons why the protests is going on like the way it, was the reason why a lot of protests is going on because, there's, finally, people understand, and I'm talking about particularly, white people, Asian, mixed. It's a combination of people that truly understands what we have been trying to say as a race throughout the whole entire time. That look, although it may say in the Pledge of Allegiance, liberty and justice for all, and that all men are created equal, that even though it said that, we as a race have been discriminated against and treated unfairly, and people finally understand that, and it's great to see that it's not just us that is raising our voices about it, and that is taken to the streets, but that our fellow, white or Asian or mixed neighbor and neighbors, has partnered up with us, in peacefully protesting. I must say that truly is a great thing. So I have made it a point to donate and be charitable to the causes that will help put a stop to systemic racism. I have always been charitable, even going as far back as to TCC, to certain causes like Feeding America and the Wounded Warriors Project, and just various other charities. And so I'm still doing that even now. But I'm seeing to it that I donate to the charities and programs that will see to it that systemic racism is put to an end. And I've also signed the petitions to ensure that, to ensure that I've done my part in making sure that systemic racism is put to an end. So for anyone that is watching this, if you want to contribute and make a positive difference and put a stop to systemic racism, then be sure to donate to those that will be for the cause of stopping racism, and as well as systemic racism in America. Make sure to do that, and don't forget, we have to turn out and vote come November 3rd. We have to make sure that we vote Trump out, because what Trump has been doing in the last couple of days have not been real leadership. He has been doing anything and everything but leading by example, starting with the fact that he put the National Guard as well as the military police on peaceful protesters. We as a people, we cannot stand for that, and we have to make sure that Trump leaves office and that we get JB and his VP in there. Joe Biden is an example of real leadership. Barack Obama is an example of real leadership. All what Trump has done throughout the time he's been in office was to literally play fake president And it showed up in the way he conducted himself and in the way that he has acted. And you know, so we have to get it done come November the 3rd. No more excuses. This is too important. This is too big to miss. We have to turn and vote come November the 3rd, and we got to make sure that we hold President Trump accountable for all his lack of leadership and for all his hateful rhetoric. So we have to get this done. This is too urgent, and we must see to it that we turn out the vote come November the 3rd, and that we vote and elect Joe Biden as our new Commander-in-Chief and 46th President of the United States of America, and that Kamala Harris is becomes our first black female Vice President of the United States of America. So again, we have to see to it that it gets done.